All right, trying something a little bit different today. Here we go. This is an impromptu video. Doom. I didn't get that. Give me a second here. Doom, 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 doom. Worse than my work. Doom, doom. Not hitting it. Still recovering too much from the cold to really get to the lower register and get that vibration I usually get. Doom. Victor Von Doom. Victor Von Doom is not the key to understanding the Fantastic Four. Victor Von Doom is not the best villain to bring in for the beginning of the Fantastic Four. He is clearly their most iconic villain, and one of their few exclusive villains. Not too many other people face Doom. But Doom isn't... He's not your classic villain. He's not an archetypical villain. He is... Well, let's get into that, shall we? Victor Von Doom, in the comics, is a gypsy, a scientist, and a master magician. Not quite as powerful as Stephen Strange, Doctor Strange. But a much more brilliant scientist. Anytime he hits a snag or a slowdown in science, he compensates with magic. He uses both of them together. There's a very similar description to the one Thor gave for Asgard in the first Thor movie there, Thor. When he was talking to Padme Amidala there, what's her name? Natalie Portman? Jane Foster. Yeah, let's go with that. So, in the comics, Doom is not, at least up to the year 2000, Doom is not a megalomaniac trying to take over the world. He will, given the opportunity, attempt to take over the world, but he is, for the most part, very aware of what his abilities are, very aware of what resources he holds, and very aware of what those limitations and what those powers, abilities, and resources give as far as limitations go. His goal to take over Latveria was one he succeeded in as a young man. Shortly after he got out of college, he was kicked out of college for arcane experiments. And that's where he met Reed Richards in the comics. Now, this is all in the comics. This isn't how I would phase him into the MCU yet. I want to give you... Because... excuse me. Because so few people have done Doom well, we don't have a very clear picture of who Doom was meant to be. And when you understand who Doom was meant to be, that's when you can start bringing him into the MCU, because you got to stay true to your character when you adapt him to another media. If you don't, then it's not really the same character. It's not going to be the exact same character anyway, but you still want to stay true to who that character is. So, Doom is a little delusional. He's not a lot delusional, he's only a little delusional. He blames the failure in college. His main competitor was Reed Richards. They were in the same class. He blames his failure. So his main experiment, the one that gets him, the arcane experiment, the occult experiment that got him kicked out of school, was an attempt to use science and magic to contact his dead mother in the underworld and bargain for her soul back from Mephisto, or whoever has it. And he built a machine that could do it. But he dropped some notes. I'm not kidding. This is the pettiest thing you've ever heard in your life. He dropped his notes at one point, and Reed Richards picked them up, and a glance at those numbers let Reed Richards know that something was off with his calculations, and he told Doom to recheck the numbers, and Doom refused to listen. Doom, a glance at one page of notes. A glance at one page of notes. Reed Richards is a genius. So, he's not the only genius out there, but he is a genius. Doom builds the machine. His calculations were off. He does transport his mind down to Mephisto's realm. He starts to bargain with Mephisto, but the machine backfires, the experiment goes awry, and it blows up in his face, just horribly scarring him for life. Horribly scarring him for life. Specifically, he got a scar that was yay big, less than an inch on his cheek. Less than an inch on his cheek. He's disfigured for life now because he has one scar that's less than an inch on his cheek. A very thin scar that healed well, that you wouldn't even notice, but he sees it all the time. And he obsesses over it. And he obsesses over Reed Richards, because it was Reed Richards' fault that the experiment failed, because Reed Richards interfered with the experiment. How dare Reed Richards interfere with the experience by glancing at his notes once and telling him that he should recheck his numbers? How dare Reed Richards do that? This is Reed Richards' fault. It's entirely his fault. And Doom will have his revenge. Victor Von Doom will have his revenge in this life or the next, because Reed Richards destroyed the experiment to save his mother and return her from the pits of Hades. I told you. And then once you get that, once you understand what a petty, obsessive, somewhat delusional on this particular issue person Doom is, you will understand Victor Von Doom. While Doom would gladly take over the world should the opportunity present itself, which it has repeatedly, and he has attempted to take over the world, and he has been foiled repeatedly. He's not delusional in that respect. He's not delusional in most respects. He is an autocratic ruler. He keeps his people oppressed. He rules the fictional country of Latveria with an iron fist. But his whole reason for becoming a villain on the global scale was to get his revenge on Reed Richards. Because Reed Richards saw some papers when he was in college and interfered with the experiment to bring his mother back to life from the pits of Hades, from Mephisto, who is a Marvel character. He's an analog for the devil. He's not the devil himself. He's an analog for the devil, because they didn't want to use the devil to offend people, so they came up with this other character similar to, if you read Dilbert, Phil, the Prince of Insufficient Light, who, instead of a pitchfork, walks around with a spoon, giant spoon. Similar to that. But Mephisto sits in as an archdemon. He sits in there for the devil when they want to tell darker stories in that vein, which is fine. Mephisto has Doom's mother's soul. There's been a couple of stories about that. The Doctor Doom, Doctor Strange crossover back in, the late 80s, the mid 80s? It was all about him getting his mother's soul back. Anyway. So yeah, he didn't become a villain to take over the world. He became a supervillain to take over Latveria, and to defeat Reed Richards. If Reed Richards hadn't come onto the scene as Mr. Fantastic, Doom never would have come onto the public scene, the world scene at all. He is obsessed with Reed Richards. He wants his revenge on Reed Richards. That is Doom. Which is why he's not the best villain to bring in for the first movie. He may be the most iconic villain, but he is not the right villain to bring in. Mention him in passing. Call him the Latverian. Call him the ruler of Latveria. I like just calling him the Latverian. Bring in references to him, but he shouldn't be showing up until the third movie. Third or fourth. He shouldn't be a main villain for a crossover until he finds a way to achieve power that would allow him to defeat all of the heroes. Because that's how Doom does it. If he doesn't have access to the kind of power that would allow him, he's very reasonable in this regard. Irrational, I guess, would be the right word, not reasonable. He's not going to attempt a coup. He's not going to attempt to take over the world unless he knows he can pull it off. That's who Doom is. And you got to get that right. He is a scary villain because he is an effective villain. And what Doom doesn't realize is that his archenemy is Ben Grimm. His archenemy is not Reed Richards. His archenemy is Ben Grimm. The guy who stops him most of the time is not Reed Richards, it's Ben. And Sue stops him the first time. Go Sue. Sue's awesome. Love Sue. But repeatedly through the comics, the guy he doesn't expect, the guy who will stop him no matter what, is Ben Grimm. Reed goes toe-to-toe with him once, one-on-one, toe-to-toe, and Reed just decimates Doom. Doom's not ready to face Reed. And Reed wants to help Doom. Truth be told, if he could find a way to redeem Doom, if he could find a way to help Doom, Reed would do it. But for the most part, he doesn't spend his time thinking about Doom. He's busy with other problems. He's busy with defending the Earth from alien invasions. That's been Reed's been trying to understand subspace and what else? The negative zone and how in interstellar travel and how that all works, and finding ways to defend Earth from alien assault. That has been Reed's thing throughout the entire comics. Ben, on the other hand, is just trying to stop the problems as they show up. He's not looking to save the world from the hypothetical alien invasions. He's here to deal with the invasion that's coming on right now. He considers Doom a threat, and he will stop Doom every time. And he does every time. But Victor Von Doom is not obsessed with Ben Grimm. Victor Von Doom is obsessed with Reed Richards. And he needs to destroy Reed Richards because Reed Richards ruined his chance at saving his mother from death. His mom was already dead, from bringing her out of Hades, hell, whatever you want to call it, the netherworld, the underworld, Cleveland, whatever. I'm just kidding. I have nothing against Cleveland. Just been watching a lot of Whose Line and the Drew Carey Show, so I've got Cleveland Rocks stuck in my head. Cleveland Rocks, Cleveland Rocks, Ohio, Ohio, Ohio. So anyway, bringing Doom into the MCU is a huge move. It should be done in the third or fourth Fantastic Four movie. If I was doing Fantastic Four movies, the first one would be the Skrulls, the second one would be Namor, the third one would be Doom. Just off the top of my head, that's how I would do the villains. And Doom is a key part. You get Doom right, it's going to be awesome. He becomes a villain. But bringing him in as a villain, you have to establish, before you do, you have to establish Reed Richards as a known hero quantity. And you need to establish a reason why Doom is obsessed and hates Reed. And then Doom could be, once he finds out about what Thanos did for Infinity War and Endgame there, he could start looking for some kind of cosmic power that would allow him to rule the planet. That could make for a series of movies. Like in the background, you see Doom starting to work. That would be good. And then when he gets his hands on that kind of cosmic power, he ends up being stopped by the heroes. Excellent storyline. Let's do something like that. But you got it. Marvel's very good at the slow burn. Look when Thanos was introduced. The first time we see Thanos is in Guardians of the Galaxy? Is that right? No, Avengers. First Avengers movie, their fifth or sixth movie there. Let's count them off. Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, and then Avengers. So Avengers was movie number 6. First time we see Thanos is Avengers number 6. That's when we still haven't heard the term Infinity Stone yet. We don't hear that until Thor Dark World. Yeah, Thor Dark World. We hear about the Infinity Stones. We're introduced to an Infinity Stone. We're introduced to the study of an Infinity Stone in the first Marvel movie in Iron Man 1, though we don't know it yet. They may not have even known it yet, but the arc reactor was designed by Howard Stark after studying the Space Gem, the Tesseract. But that comes in retroactively. They tie that in. And then in number 2, Tony Stark synthesizes his own mini Tesseract, arguably. Anyway, enough about that. Bring in Dr. Doom slow. Let it be a slow burn. Introduce him in passing. Have him be mentioned. Maybe one of the reasons why Reed is kicked out of S.H.I.E.L.D. is because of his interaction with the Latveria. I have a lot of ideas in that regard. I don't want to give too much away here, because should anybody ever show this to Kevin Feige, and he doesn't just laugh his ass off and dismiss me, and actually drops me a line through YouTube, I might be able to pitch one hell of a great series of movies. Well, a great series of movies, I think. I think these are solid storylines that I'm presenting here. What else about Doom? Doom. He can't, again, great villain, but it's got to be slow. You got to build up to him. He's got the potential to be more dangerous than Thanos, whatever. I can just see Ben going. Hold on, let me get into the Ben voice. What's the name of my wife? It's clobbering time. You're talking to, what is it? I'm the ever-loving blue-eyed thing. I don't think that Ben would call him Thanos or Thanos. I think he'd call him Thanos. Big purple Thanos. So anyway, sorry. Ben picks on people. He's a Marine. It's in his nature. It was in his nature before he became a Marine. He was a gang leader. He was a football player. He doesn't give people a lot of verbal respect. But he does give people a lot of respect. He doesn't give people a lot of verbal respect. There's a big difference there. So, yeah. Dr. Doom is obsessed with Reed Richards. That's the key. It is one of the few delusions he allows himself. It is one of the few obsessions he allows himself. It is one of his few blind spots. He is obsessed with Reed Richards. That is the only thing that would pull him out of Latveria, not Latvia. Latvia is a real country. That's one of the few things that would pull his attention away from Latveria, is his opportunity to get his revenge on Reed Richards. And that would bring him into this whole superhero battle. He can't be the starting villain. Otherwise, you're just making him something he's not. You're not being true to who Dr. Doom is. He wants that revenge. He wants it desperately. To the point where he doesn't... It's a blind spot. He doesn't see straight. That can be used to take advantage of him. That is one way he is like a classic villain. He obsesses over things, and he doesn't... to the point where he can be defeated that way. Getting his hands on even one of the Infinity Stones, or something equivalent like a cosmic cube, or whatever, advanced alien technology, that might have drawn him out. There, we could definitely see bringing him in, talking about some of the advanced alien technology he's gotten his hands on over the years, like from Chitauri, whatever. There's been mention of Kree and Skrull also being on the planet. I don't know how canon the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show is, but there have been interactions with other aliens. The Ravagers, the Ravager pirate group there from Guardians of the Galaxy, they visited Earth. I don't know if they've mentioned it in the MCU. I would have to go back and watch the Guardians movies again, but Earth is at the center, is a nexus for, according to the comics, to some old X-Men comics and some other stuff, to explain why we get so many alien visitors, and we had so many alien visitors throughout history. That's a good storyline to explore too, is the ancient aliens connection in the Marvel Universe, that aliens have been visiting Earth for long periods of time. Is that we're at a nexus where there's like... So you saw in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, it became very clear that you have to jump, that systems are connected by jump points, whether it's a naturally occurring thing or an artificial thing. I assume it's naturally occurring. And then a jump drive allows you to travel through that naturally occurring path. To get from... They couldn't just jump directly to Thanos's... not Thanos. In Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was Ego. Yeah, Ego was the villain of 2. They couldn't... So Rocket and... What's his name there? Blue guy with the... Mohawk. Mary Poppins, y'all! Anyway, him. Yondu. God. They didn't stay true to his character at all, but they did a great job with it. especially number 2. So Rocket and Baby Groot and Yondu there cannot jump directly to Ego's, where Ego is, the planet. They have to do a series of jumps. It's like 500 jumps or whatever it is. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch to give you the exact number. Or you could go watch it. Hey, enjoy the movies. They're awesome. So if those are naturally occurring things connecting systems, Earth is at like the center of 100 or 1,000 of these jump points. It interconnects. It's a nexus, and that's why we have so many alien visitors. And arguably, since what's his butt there, Odin pulls back to the 9 realms. One of the reasons why one of the realms he kept Midgard, Earth, would be because it is a nexus of jump points. So you can't come to Earth without dealing with the Asgardians. And we really should have been mentioned in Captain Marvel. So the Asgardians needed to be mentioned in Captain Marvel. It's a huge continuity break that they're not. That it's not in the Kree records. It should be in the Kree records. They checked, they looked it up, there was no notification. It was stupid, it was bad continuity. Shame, Marvel, shame, shame, shame. Fix it in Captain Marvel 2. Fix it in one of the Avengers movies. Fix it somewhere, but the Kree should have known better. They knew better in the Marvel TV show there, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2. Anyway, yeah, that annoys me. Bad continuity. You have so few continuity errors. Marvel does such an amazing job with continuity that when they have an error that big, it sticks out. So what else is going on with Doom? I can't think of much more. I don't want to reveal a lot more. He wants his revenge on Reed Richards, not on Sue, not on Johnny, not on Ben. His revenge is specifically on Reed. And exploiting that obsession. He's single-minded in any one of his pursuits. At any given time, whatever he's working on, he's very focused on that. And then when he's not doing that, he has a general outlook. He's weighing the problems of Latveria and everything. He's repositioning himself on the global stage. He's rethinking who he is and who he wants to present himself to be and all that stuff. But, yeah. Doom is a thinker, he is a plotter, he's a schemer. He is not necessarily looking to take over the world. He is always looking to expand his empire, or his control, his sphere of influence, if you will. But his goals is to acquire power. It's not necessarily to take over the world. He's not looking to defeat everybody. He is only looking to get revenge on people who have wronged him. He wants to save his mother. He's obsessed with that. Make a good Doctor Strange tie-in, actually. You may even bring in Doom in that. Instead of bringing him in as a Fantastic Four villain, bring him in as attempting to get to the underworld, the netherworld, to save his mother in Doctor Doom 3. That would be a great movie. It would introduce us to Doom outside of the Fantastic Four. But even in that, there should be mentions of Reed Richards and how when he seeks revenge, he gets his revenge, and how he could introduce him that way. That would make a great Doctor Strange story. Before you necessarily bring him in the Fantastic Four, you could bring him in there. But until Reed Richards gets on the scene, he is not... You could even bring him in as a partner to the Avengers after that Doctor Strange story, as someone who could come and help him, who studied from a different school of magic, an ally, because Doom doesn't want the planet to be destroyed. If there's an opportunity for him to help save the planet, this is where he lives. You could bring him in that way, and people would be thinking of him as an ally of sorts until he attacks the Fantastic Four time and time and time again. So yeah, he's not just a straight villain. He's also a quasi-benevolent, though he does rule with an iron fist. There have been stories where he's been good to the people of Latveria. We can have that as an arc, starting as tyrant and growing into a benevolent ruler. Seeing that the better he is to the people of Latveria, the better things go in Latveria, something like that. There are options. He's a complicated character. He is definitely an interesting character, but he should not be in the first movie. build to him. Give him an opportunity to be who the character is. Let the character have room to develop. He could be the next Loki. I could definitely see him doing something like that, where he's involved, and he's not necessarily a hero, but he's not necessarily a villain. He's a lot of fun, Doom is. So, I guess that's it. Do I have a song for you guys? No. Huh, I know. So, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, back in the day, with Gene Wilder. It's a song by Veruca Salt. It's I Want It Now. And it goes, and I'm going to do it in a deeper voice. All right. I can't get the full thing going. I've still got too much phlegm, but here we go. Because this is originally sung as a child, But the first verse there is, I want the world. I want the whole world. I want to wrap it all up in my pocket. It's my bar of chocolate. Give it to me now. It's not quite Doom, but anyway. Trying to think of a good Doom song. It's now or never. I don't want to live for it. It's my life. It's now or never. And I don't want to live forever. I just want to live while I'm alive. It's my life. There's probably more out there. Very me, A-type. I don't know if it's an A-type personality. I get those all confused anyway. It's been 20 years since I took a psych class. Longer. Anyway, this has been an impromptu video.